Hey, what's up? What's going on?
I'm just stressed right now because I don't know I'll be staying next year.
Okay, well, why don't you just stay on campus? That's what I'm doing.
See, I thought about that, but I also thought about moving off campus because, well, one, it's cheaper. Two, I don't have to share a bathroom for anyone, and there's no curfew.
Okay, that's true, but have you done your research?
Researched what?
You know, fair housing laws, things that you should look out for. It's called the Fair Housing Assistance Program. It'll keep you informed, and it'll help you make a great decision.
Can you tell me more information about it?
Many fair housing concerns arise and are faced by students each day, with students thinking that fair housing rights do not apply to them, but they actually do. As a college student looking for affordable, safe housing, you need to know your rights. Discriminatory practices happen more often than you think, and it is important to understand the laws in place that protect you. Some of the issues and questions students have include student policies, student specials, multi-lease dwellings, and roommate matching, Mrs. Murphys Exemption, preparation to move off campus, subletting, documentation checklist, renewal, and informed guests. Here are some things to consider. The Fair Housing Act, formerly known as the Civil Rights Act, prohibits discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on the protected class status of people. All students belong to one or more protected classes, and any student seeking on or off-campus housing should be able to obtain housing free of discrimination. Students with disabilities have the right to request reasonable accommodation and modifications based on their disability to help them use, enjoy, and access housing on and off campus. It is important to keep in mind that certain kinds of on-campus and off-campus housing may be limited for students with minor children, familial status, based on design and other considerations. It is important to remember students do not represent a protected class. Housing providers may have a policy or practice of student housing both on and off campus, so long as the housing provider does not discriminate against the student.
RCNORSFSDPC, do you know what that means, man? RCNORSFSDPC, did you even read the list? Time to protect the classes, fair housing laws. This sign to stay or go, can't be hard. If you ain't know, you do now. 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 RCNORSFSDPC, do you know what that means? Nothing but facts, just relax. Now it's time to pay attention to the 7 protected classes that we're about to mention. First is art, is race, and it's not a competition. Then there's color, skin tones. Now we're talking about pigment. From the Carolinas all the way down to Oregon. 7 protected classes includes national origin. Only 4 more to go, now we can't forget to mention. The second R in this song stands for religion. And you can't forget about the families that have children. The S is for sex, like he or she, or however you ID personally. Last but not least, when it comes to you and me, can't forget about those that have a disability. Hope you learned something new. Now please don't forget when you're trying to decide if you're ready to pay rent. Trust the process, make sure it makes sense. Hope you make an informed decision after this.
The Equal Protection Rule implements a policy to ensure the eligibility of individuals and families to housing regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. Mrs. Murphys Exemption. Mrs. Murphy is the hypothetical elderly widow who has converted a portion of her home into a rental apartment to supplement her limited income. Mrs. Murphy's Exemption provides that if a dwelling has 4 or fewer rental units and the owner lives in one of those units, that home is exempt from FHA rules. Multi-lease housing refers to 2 or more students living in one apartment paying individual rent. Roommate matching is when the housing provider takes on the task of matching you with a roommate based on similar interests. Housing providers are not legally obligated to intervene or excuse students from leases or relocate someone based on protected class status. If a student becomes disabled, permanent or temporarily, during their tenancy and the student asks for reasonable accommodation or reasonable modification, the housing provider must provide a reasonable alternative if available to the request without incurring a financial burden on the student. With Multileaf Housing, there are pitfalls when it comes to emotional support animals. Emotional support animals can be in the housing unit, but not in the shared common space. On the other hand, service animals can access all housing areas of the unit. Do not sublet unless you talk with your landlord and it is mentioned in the lease. Subletting may still include a responsibility on your end. Always discuss the renewal process. Renewals can be tricky and should be read through extensively. Be informed of your responsibility during your tenancy concerning maintenance orders and pest issues. Many multi-lease dwelling units provide additional details within your lease concerning the process for addressing these two issues. Well, that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
And remember, first, know your rights as a tenant and don't forget to do your research before signing a lease.
And second, read the terms and conditions of your lease thoroughly.
And third, don't forget to keep a renter's journal for any issues that may happen in your apartment.
If you as a tenant believe you are being discriminated against based on one of the 7 protected classes mentioned in this video, the Fair Housing and Landlord Tenant Dispute Programs are available now. Questions or concerns? Want to know more about the services offered? You can visit the Human Relations Department at 300 West Washington Street or contact us by telephone at 336-373-2038.